Welcome everyone to the Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell podcast. And today it is my pleasure to bring back, actually, because we've done some other conversations with Marian Egan, and she is of Heart Art Magic and a special collaborator and friend. And I wanted to have a discussion today about some of the exciting discoveries she's been having with her art, but also with the card decks that she creates. Marian, I just wanted to share with the audience. I was writing up what I wanted to say about you, and I really love your ingenuity. I love your dedication and your enthusiasm for all the things in wellness and energy medicine. And I'm particularly fond of those card decks of yours, but also the way you take your painting and your ability to release pain instantly. And that opportunity for people to realize it doesn't have to take a long time. You've shown how it can be instantly, and I so appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you inviting me on to talk with you. Thank you.
All right, I'm ready to dive in. I want to share a little bit more about what Marian does, so I'm just going to share part of what would be her bio. We begin her health journey back in 1985 when she started really diving into the techniques. She trained in fitness, touch for health, reflexology, brain gym, neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, life coaching, Reiki, and she's an emotion code practitioner. So there's a lot of backgrounds that come to the forefront when she's creating the product she's creating. She doesn't have just one perspective. She has many perspectives, and then how to bring that together. She started a weight loss journey with Weight Watchers. And what's interesting is with losing the weight that she lost, for 5 years, she actually presented for Weight Watchers and won an award for the largest number of attendees that were present in Ireland. So that's a huge undertaking on top of getting control over nutrition and finding the right flow.
Yeah, it was a journey, but again, a personal journey, and I think everybody's on their own personal journey for whatever it is that they're looking to heal or be or just do. And start the day with, well, I know how I start my day now, but that's because of how the card decks came to me. That's how I start my day, is setting an intention for myself and meditating and then choosing a card. And that it's just been an incredible journey, Michelle. Even when I look at the cards that I chose yesterday, and then when I look at what happened yesterday in my day, I'm kind of, blown away.
Right. Oh, it's interesting, and because I'm just going to do a little bit more from the bio, because then you start, for people, you can really start to get the essence of what has transpired for you, Marian, which is so cool. So you did train in fitness and gym instruction, and you worked at Limerick University with that, and you started teaching fitness classes. Sounds reciprocal to what I also did, looking for the right fitness possibilities and wanting to do the best we could. You are a mom of 3. Now you have grandbabies. And so you spent a lot of time really nurturing and taking care of the home and what was happening there, and then trying to find that right fit for you.
Yeah.
From that possibility, then, the transition went, because a lot of people go into the wellness industry, but then there's this transition that moves over to the energy medicine portion, which really gets into the crux of what is happening for you that keeps you from being well and being able to do those exercise or fitness ideas. And then for you, that led you down the road of how your painting, your card decks came to be. But I just wanted people to get an essence for the fact that we have walked that journey of trying to be fit and well, but we've also found these incredible tools that has transformed more than that.
It's amazing, Michelle, because, like that, when you don't know what it is, you do not know unless somebody gives you the information and it, advises you. So finding like the kinesiology, that was a real turning point for me, that you could actually get in touch with what's happening in your body, make a statement, and your body will give you the answer. It was like, wow, it's
It's that easy? What? No, please let me guess. Trial and error is much more fun.
it's incredible, and every time I did a modality and I qualified, I just said, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing any more. There's no more because I wouldn't, I left school at 15, so before I did any exams, because I really wasn't very good at school. And so I didn't have that confidence in learning. It was a huge thing for me. I remember the first time I did my entrance into Limerick University, I had to write a paper. And I think it was to show them that I was literate enough to attend the university, and it was like, hang on a second, I'm paying for this and they still want me to, you know. But I could understand it then after a while, so learning was never easy. And then when I did the brain gym, I realized why learning was difficult for me, because part of my brain had just shut down. And it had shut down due to trauma that I had experienced as a young child. But I didn't know that until I started training. So the training was just a door opener as to why I was the way I was. And in recent years, I realized, the blame and shame that I put on myself as a child, when you look at it in the adult sense, it's, the adult has the operating skills of, there's no judgment there.
Yeah.
But the child being, you didn't do what you were told, so therefore you take on the blame and the shame of what has happened.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's very complex, really. But when I started with my art, and particularly painting from the art was that was my passion when I learned how to mix color and put it on paper and canvas and that. But when I started doing the heart art, painting from the subconscious, that was mind blowing, because getting in touch with the paint, putting your hands in it so you can feel the color, you're mixing with your fingers, so you're literally so in touch with it. And then when you see what wants to come to the fore,
Hmm.
even every time I do it, I'm doing it now. I don't know how many years now. I've hundreds of paintings, and I'm so lucky because they became my card decks in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, before you and I dive further into that part, let's talk about what tea we've brought to the conversation today. Because this is the way I play with color, but also this is the way for us to set up the podcast so that while people are listening, they're having a healing journey and they have the opportunity to be transformed by the time they get to the end of the conversation. What tea did you bring today?
Okay, so my tea today from Cape Breton is the SoulTEA Harbour, which is lovely. And do you know what I realized when I poured it out? The color of it was nice and light, and then it has changed color in the cup, which, maybe you can explain that bit.
I can't. What I'm discovering these last couple of weeks is that we think the tea is static. We think we're going to have this because we're used to a black tea looks like a black tea, but that's not true. And the herbs go through a process, and the herbs interact with each other, and they transform. So
Uh,
we don't really notice that because we always put it into a dark cup and then we don't see it and we're not actually interacting with it. And like you said, putting the hands into the paint, you get to connect with the color. It's the same when you're sipping on the tea. When you connect in with the color, you have the fragrance, you have the depth of the herbs that you taste, and then you have this incredible color that does transform. So what is the affirmation that's on the front of the SoulTEA Harbour package?
the affirmation. I put my glasses on for this one, Michelle.
So the teas all have intentions on the package, and that's because we want you to be able to be infused with where you want to go. What does it say there?
This is wonderful. Balance and flow is possible when we open to be present for when we open to be present for our true heart's desires. Come home to your heart. Oh, that's lovely. That really resonates with me, with the heart and the little heart symbol on it as well.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
But that's the thing about, because it's so natural, like you've got your the stinging nettle, the rosehip, the raspberry, the licorice, root pieces, the maple syrup, all of the other, the safflower petals, the clove, the calendula, everything, all the natural flavors. So it's nature working as nature does best.
Hmm. Hmm.
Balance and flow is possible when we open to be present for our true heart's desires. Beautiful.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to share, so that one comes from the Harmony Blend series, which we created where you can have 6 different tea blends. You can walk through situations and give yourself different perspectives. Um, and so SoulTEA Harbour is kind of in the middle with that one. And I've brought today the one that launches today. So when people are listening to the recording, this will be a few days later, but this is Kitchen Party. And this one was created for the Natalie MacMaster Set. And we wanted something that was a celebration. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table for you today, was the celebration piece of what happens when you engage with all the concepts we're going to talk about. The affirmation is lift your spirits by connecting music and friends in celebration. And a kitchen party here in Cape Breton, you have a few musicians and usually in the kitchen. Nobody ends up in the living room. Everybody's squished into the kitchen somehow. And then pretty soon the tables are moving, food comes out of everywhere, and celebration ensues. And it's that combination of the people together, that the musicians particularly, they are just playing together and exploring each other with the music. And it's all by ear. So people are interacting in different ways and get different instruments that come in. So I wanted to share that piece of it, but I also wanted to talk about the color of this tea. So it's interesting what you commented about discovering about your tea this morning, that the colors were changing. Because
Yeah.
this tea, when my daughter and I worked on this recipe, it was bright purple. And we're like, oh, this is perfect. This is awesome. And then we made another batch just to see if we could replicate it. And it was gray. And we're like,
Oh,
gray? How did we get gray? And then we thought, okay, we did something really wrong. So we made a third batch. We get bright purple.
oh, well.
Okay. Then worked on some other pieces, come back to the tea that's purple, take that blend, make another cup. It's blue. I'm
Oh
like,
my
how
God.
is this happening? So what we had to do was we had to look at every time you make this cup, even it just depends on how the ingredients are in the package, whether you shook the package up, what's sifted down to the bottom. We don't think about that. So we don't think about how much of something is coming into the package. But we also then went to, if you're going to a kitchen party, sometimes it can be really calm and quiet. That's your grays, light purples. But then you end up with what we call the corker. That's where all kinds of magic breaks out, and then that's our bright purple. So we actually put a mood scale on the package, which is kind of fun. And now the realization that teas change,
Yeah,
situations change, opportunities change. Okay,
wonderful.
I know we're going to dive into your work, but I want to talk about 2 ingredients.
Hmm.
And I just want to bring the idea to people, and this is going to be the same with the paint, that what you put into something, it has a relationship, and that relationship is really important. And then the combination that goes into a tea recipe creates an overall piece. So I just pulled 2 pieces out. So hawthorn fruit is one. This tree is a prickly little devil. It has spikes on it, but it has the most beautiful flowers and fruit. We have it all over our yard here. The hawthorn supports having energy and courage to undertake all tasks at hand. That's a phrase that I got from Evelyn Mulders, who does Whispering Herbs Healing Messages at soundessences.net. And the fruit supports your details. Distractors fall away from focus so that the true goal can be focused on and achieved. And I know this is going to tie into what we're doing today. So the hawthorn fruit is supporting us to let the details fall away that don't need to be there. And then I've combined that with blue cornflower, which is a part of what gives us purple or blue, depending, but it's a stabilizer for dream building.
Wow.
So this means you can look at contemplation, confidence, integrity, and awareness. They're all awakened by the flower. And it nurtures the opportunity for in-depth thoughts, contemplation, and peace, and to come into focus to be present for the opportunities that present themselves. So now if you look at the two going together, and you already mentioned this in the opening of the conversation, which is fantastic. So we're often aware of our faults. We're very aware of any details that we miss. And we often are not satisfied with that endless task list that we never seem to get accomplished. And then we forget to celebrate the achievements that we have made. And like you said, the way the day unfolds, when you look back and you see, wow, that's what I did because I set my intention up for the day.
Yeah. And it is incredible when you set the intention for your day, and a lot of people don't realize how important that is. I didn't realize how important it was when I wasn't doing it. Now that I'm doing it, I realize the importance of it.
Yeah. When it's missing, it's like, oh, you know what? I didn't take the time this morning and I can't do that. I have to be right in there. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
point you made is very important, Michelle. We can take the time. We cannot make the time.
Yeah.
It's taking it and setting that time. So that's why I get up early to do this. The first thing I do in the morning is self-care. Self-care.
So with Kitchen Party, you now take those ingredients and you think about celebrating and also coming into focus with family and friends at your side so that because they're your cheerleaders for everything that you're doing, you're going to gather those people around you. And at a kitchen party, we have the chance for people to get to know us a little better, for the love of the music, the dance, to be able to watch, listen, relax, and be in a fun atmosphere. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront. So with SoulTEA Harbour, where you are, and with Kitchen Party, where I am, cheers. Marian, thank you so much for coming to have this conversation.
Cheers. It's wonderful. I love the fact that you called that blend Kitchen Party. It's a wonderful name.
Thank you.
As you were talking about mixing the blends, to me, I saw the palette in my studio, putting the colors out. I could visualize that as you were talking about the blending.
Yeah, yeah. And then too, when I go to make the tea, and I know this will be like this for you with the paint too, and which colors are going to come forward. And I go to choose the tea for the day. Sometimes on muscle monitor, so using the skills that come from Touch for Health. And sometimes I'm just attracted right to the package, but then to hold those herbs and be connected to them. Similar to how you're going to be connected to your intention and you connect into what paint am I using today.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to explain how you engage with your card decks? I know you've done videos about how the card decks came to be, and I know you'll dive into that a little bit, but I really want people to experience what it means for you in your day when you're engaging with these decks and what's happened for you.
And it's thank you. It's really interesting. Even this morning and yesterday, when I looked at the cards that came from yesterday, and I looked at the results that transpired yesterday, I'm even though I've created them, I'm kind of blown away by the impact that it has had, and so I start off with, the first thing I do is sit and I'm very blessed insofar as when I started the card deck, I didn't know how they worked. So I had to figure out, well, how do they work? So I decided, I took a notebook and I put down number 1 and I wrote the name, the intention, and the name of the card that came up for me. And you know what, Michelle, I'm coming up to, I've kept a note of the sequence, and this morning was 3,965 or okay, so I'm nearly at the 4,000th card that I've chosen for myself. So it's amazing to know that I can say that's how many cards I've chosen,
Mm-hmm.
I set the intention, and then I write down what is on for my day. What am I, what's my schedule? What do I need to do? And what do I want to achieve? And then I choose the cards. Now there's different ways of choosing them. When I'm shuffling them, if one pops up or falls out, it's the universe is choosing it for me. I'm not choosing it at all, you know. Or as you say, I can muscle monitor or just do it intuitively.
Hmm.
Or I can spread the cards and whichever one appeals to me, I can choose that. So there's no right or wrong way, you know, it
Hmm.
is. So then I take a note of, I normally take three cards, you know, and it's like past, present, future type of scenario, or it could be health, wealth, relationship. You know, it depends on what your intention is. And then I install the frequency numbers. Now, the frequency numbers, when I got the inspiration to create the cards, and when I painted the images, I just said to myself, okay, because I've been doing frequency numbers in my practice for many years. And then I said, well, each image has its own frequency. So I created a frequency for each image. Because people often say to me, well, what does the frequency represent? And it's actually the frequency of the image, not on the message. I create a message as well. So then I realized by putting in the frequency that my stress levels came down. But when I started testing my cards with people and I asked, have you any pain in your body? And when they said yes, I got them, like what you were saying with the mood on the tea, that you monitor. Well, 10 is the worst scenario. What's your pain level at? Is it a 2? Is it a 5? Is it 7? Is it 9? What's it at? So you've got a starting point. And then as people install the frequency number, guess what? The pain just, or the stress or the anxiety just starts to dissipate and relieve, you know. Um, so even yesterday, I had two people yesterday, and they were just kind of, my goodness, I cannot believe my pain is gone after just tapping in frequency numbers into my body. But it was only recently I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about the wavelengths and the frequencies. And it was in his explanation that I realized that's how my cards are working, is because people are going from the beta, which is, you know, the waking state, and it can be the fight, flight, freeze, flock, or faint mode, you know, so it's out of that survival mode. Because when you're in that, your body's running cortisol hormone, and your body cannot heal when cortisol is present. You need to stop the cortisol and move up into the dopamine, serotonin, melatonin, oxytocin, you know, the natural hormone, the healing hormones. And that's what happens is the body goes into the alpha, theta, delta, or gamma state, which is the, wow, it's such a natural, like your tea, just a very natural healing process. And your body has an innate intelligence to heal itself. It knows what to do. But if we're worrying about this and worrying about that and thinking all the negative things, your body cannot go into that healing state. So we step into our own way. So we can get out of our own way, stop the worry, stop the stress, stop the anxiety. Then guess what? The body knows what to do and it can do it naturally, just the way your tea works, that mood enhancing. It's that's how they
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Isn't that okay? There's a couple of thoughts that are running through my head. So the one is, first of all, you created the deck, and some people think you have to know everything before you go to do something. But when you're working intuitively, you're guided to do things and you have no idea why, but you do it anyway because you just trust the process that something's going to happen and that'll be fine. And you don't know where the discovery is going to be, but you know it'll be rich. I feel like that every day when I go to my Tai Chi class because I actually don't know what I'm going to be teaching because I'll wait to see what needs to be said or
Yeah.
received.
Mhm.
And also the discoveries. Somebody asks a question, we may have talked about that topic many, many times, but for whatever reason, it comes out completely differently. And that's really what happened for you in that it needed a number. You trusted the process and said, okay, it needs a number. I'll put the number on it and I'll use the number. I know it works. And then all of a sudden, there's the answer for why.
Yeah. But what was so amazing for me, and it's only even recently, I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I mean his meditation process. I mean that's what happens, when you stop and you go inside of yourself. I mean, when I created, I'm the founder of Heart Art Magic, and the reason I called it magic was the acronym for my ability to go into my center, because that's where the magic happens. It's within. And a lot of time people are looking outside of themselves for somebody to fix them. Those the two people that I worked with yesterday, and they were saying, thank you so much. And I said, well, I just facilitated. You actually did it. I just told you how to do it. So you fixed yourself. That's the key issue. We have the ability when we know how. And again, it's about somebody telling you how to do it, and what to do. It's like the tea, you take the tea and then you feel that mood enhancing, and it just naturally does what nature intended.
Hmm. Hmm. What nature intended. Yeah. Interesting, because a lot of people will say, well, that you need to have the science to come back, and it's like we can have the science as we try to figure out what is nature, but nature already knows. So we
Yeah,
just trust that nature has this figured out, and off we can go with it.
yeah. It's amazing. Like nature, you know yourself how we can be awestruck by just even a scene that we see. And you're taken, but it hits you right here in the heart center because it just resonates with the feeling that it gives you. And I say to people, look, when you have a thought, your thought will emit an electrical energy, and your feeling emits a magnetic energy. So that's where the electromagnetic synchronicity comes from. But when your heart and your head are synchronized, oh my goodness, that's when the healing happens. And that's been scientifically proven.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, all right. Do you want to share a couple of stories about it could be either yours or somebody else's healing with the cards, just so people could get an idea, because I'm sure some people are listening and they're thinking, so, oh, well, I've had this pain for forever. I don't think it's going to go because you have a card. So do you want to share that?
Well, and I'll just go to yesterday because it's fresh in my mind. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and um, in the conversation, she was talking about the pain that she was in, and I was saying, well, Sheila, would you like some help with that? And she said, well, yes, please. So that's what I did. And I said to her, I did. She had it for 2 weeks, and she said it was excruciating. It was really, really bad. And I said, well, let's do some cards. So we did the cards, and within a few minutes, it was gone. And she was saying, why did I wait for 2 weeks? Why didn't I just ring you and, do it there and then? But again, even though Sheila knew and knows what I do, it, it didn't, the pain was so great, she couldn't even think about, well, Marian can help. So that's what can happen too. Life can get in the way. And I'm sure if that's happened to you, it's happened to me, where you kind of say, I knew that, but I didn't, even though I knew it, I didn't do it. So knowing and doing are two different things. So Sheila was so grateful, because now she's pain free. And she said, gosh, why didn't I do it sooner?
Hmm.
So it's and then another lady I had shoulder pain. And like that, she said, is there anything, would it work for the shoulder pain? Because it was an injury. It wasn't just a pain that came, it was actually an injury that she had. And, I'll never promise anything. I said, well, look, the first thing I do ask is that the person will say, I'm very happy to let this go. Because in them saying that, their subconscious is telling their body, I am very happy to let this go. I don't need it for me to know X, Y, or Z. If your body's I call it body talk. If your body's talking to you, it's saying, can you have a look at this because this is bothering me? So
Hmm.
anyway, a few cards later, and the injury, I mean, whether the injury is still there or not, but the pain didn't go with it. The pain was gone. So but it's so instant.
Hmm.
Um, and it works. And the reason and I only learned this recently from listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I have this book here, which all of his information is called Becoming Supernatural. As he explained, how it works is you're coming from the beta wavelength in a frequency into the alpha, theta, delta, and gamma wavelength. And then your body knows what to do when you get into those states, particularly the gamma. It's a super duper, like I can remember many years ago, Michelle, because I had a spinal injury and my doctor had prescribed OxyContin, which was a painkiller. Oh, it was horrendous because all it did was it shut me down. I couldn't communicate with my family. As far as they were concerned, I was fast asleep. But I was just quietened and I was just still in the pain my body was running the pain, even though I was quiet. I wasn't complaining.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of the gamma, which is your inner environment, that hormone, the OxyContin, is running in that frequency, in that wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural painkiller, and that's why it works. So when you come into that gamma and the higher wavelengths, your body does the healing, and it's amazing, and the pain goes away.
So I'm just thinking about the audience listening, and hopefully they're catching what you just said because it has to do with the frequency. And so we get so caught up with the chemical reaction, the chemical composition, those pieces that we tangibly can measure. And we can measure frequency as well. But when you start to think about what frequency does something hold, and then how does that affect me, that's a completely different conversation than this is good for me. It's good for me because it has vitamin C in it or vitamin D. And you're thinking about the composition, but we're talking about the intention and the overall outcome and the possibilities, and that comes within frequency. So it's shifting mindset. And I know you'll comment to this, but I also just wanted to bring up, because I had someone in my Tai Chi class yesterday who was new to Tai Chi. And she said, well, I have frozen shoulder, I have arthritis, I have bursitis, and she had claimed all these pieces. And people often will do that to me. They'll say, oh, I have all these things. And it's like a badge of honor. And they don't realize that's how it's coming out. But then it's the story that they're going to hold on to and keep. And that frequency is going to be squashed. It's going to be brought right down to the bottom because of this capturing. And so I wanted to bring that forward because I'm sure people have many phrases that they repeat, oh yeah, that's my ankle that I always roll. Your ankle goes, yes. It's very true, and I'll keep rolling for you. So when we shift over to frequency, that really changes how the body can function, where we can go. So I'm going to be quiet and let you go for it.
Yeah, and it's a really important point, Michelle, because I didn't realize before my understanding, and I'm going back many years, I used to say, oh, my back is killing me. So what did my back do? It kept the pain circuit running because I was saying my back is killing me. So my subconscious was running that circuit. So to be aware of what you're saying, because remember I said about your thoughts emitting an electrical energy. So when you hear yourself going back into the negative conversation with yourself, and it could be just somebody else, I have a terrible headache today, or whatever it might be, or my big toe is sore. Give yourself the self-command to say, stop, I'm not doing that to myself anymore. Now, this is the shift in mindset. When you shift your mindset and you keep doing it on a daily basis, just catch yourself. So you become conscious of your unconsciousness. And when you become conscious of what you're saying, and then before you say it, or even before, you don't even have to say it, you just have to think it, and your body will run the pain, right? So you say, no, stop, I'm not doing that to myself anymore. I'm going to be walking free and easy, and I can bend down and pick up this, that, and the other, and then changing that mindset, your body takes on a whole new meaning I didn't think it could be that simple. I thought that's crazy. That just is, way out there. But, it's not. And I had to learn that for myself.
Mhm.
And, so even that thought process, catch yourself thinking and stop the negative thought. Now, that doesn't mean to say that your back is not hurting. Your back is talking to you, but there's a reason behind it. And your body is saying, excuse me, can you look at this because I'm not happy? And there's a reason behind it. So it's getting into that mind shift and that mindset, and you can make a change. You can
Mhm.
change.
And I'm thinking about what you said at the beginning too, about you started with your notebook and you wrote down number one and you had no idea where you were going, but it's like, well, there's number one and here's how I'm going to start. And a lot of people will think that they've got to do all this prep work before they can get into some new habit. And you just stopped and said, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But that piece of that first step, we've been told it takes 21 days to form a habit, et cetera, et cetera. No, it just is make a choice. If your outcome is you want this outcome, you're going to do all the things involved to get to the outcome. They just fall into place. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Some people don't know, Michelle, what the outcome can be. You can be so focused on the problem. So instead of shift the focus from what you're experiencing, whichever the problem is, and say, well, what is the opposite? If I didn't have that, what would what would my life be like, or what would my body be like if that pain circuit wasn't running? What way would I be? Will I go out for a walk? Will I go out on my bike? Will I, do your Tai Chi, do my yoga, do my meditation? So you can think about, well, what is the opposite? Because the opposite will give you the idea of what the outcome can be for you.
Mhm.
That can be a solution, just to think about what's the opposite of what I'm experiencing,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, starting point. And then keep running that circuit, you know. It is amazing. I didn't realize that your body had this ability, this innate intelligence to heal itself. I didn't realize that. And now that I do, and I have, and I can see how I can help people and empower them to heal themselves, it's so wonderful. I mean, I see the work that you do, I've experienced the work you do, and all of a sudden I can have more flexibility in my body based on what you do. It's because you're training your brain because your brain knows what to do, your body knows what to do. We just have to allow the process to happen.
Mhm. Mhm. Let's move ourselves into the fifth dimension
Okay.
because people hear about the fifth dimension and then it's like that thing out there. What is that? And you've talked around it, but you've talked it through science and you've talked it through frequency. Do you want to talk more specifically to what is the fifth dimension?
For me, the just intuitively, the fifth dimension is just being in the right place, the right time. There is no place, there's no space, there's no time, there's nothing. It's like, yeah, as Joe Dispenza says, you go beyond yourself. And it's very interesting. When I heard him say that, Michelle, my third deck, which arrived last week, is called Beyond Transformation. And I thought that was really funny, that uh, it was like getting a tick in the box for that. So it's you're not worrying, you're just in that place of all is well in my world. And when all is well in your world, there's a flow that happens and you make this wonderful connection. It's like I call it my GPS system, right? So it's like setting your sat nav and I'm the driver of my journey on where I'm going in life, right? But my GPS, I renamed it Guidance Pioneering Solutions. So I'm being guided when I take the time to listen. I'm on my own pioneering journey to the solutions that I need for myself at this point in time. So for me, the GPS is the most wonderful place to be. And and it's just being, it's not doing, it's being. And it's having that connection and that all is well in my world. If you want to just put all is well in my world. That's the fifth dimension for me.
hmm hmm As you're saying that, and people are thinking about, but I have that to-do list, but um, I have this way of doing things. I've always done it this way. All of that falls to the side because no longer are patterns important and the routines that we have in our day. It then becomes when you're sitting in that moment, all is possible. Now, what are your choices? And I
Yes.
think people forget that they still have choices. Habits are just there because they help you with the goal that you once wanted, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to stay there because they just need your GPS to
Yeah.
figure out what is the next set that you need to get to your next goal.
Yeah. And you know, sometimes we have so much on our to-do list that it becomes overwhelming. And when you're in overwhelm, you'll drop into that beta frequency, which will stop you and block you from moving forward. So when you decide, I'm not going to worry, if you write a list, well then it's on paper. You don't have to hold it in your body anymore. It's outside of you. So then you can forget about it because you're going to remember because all you've got to do is look at your list, right?
Mhm.
And when you take that time for your GPS to sit and be the driver of your own journey of where you're going, you will get through that list quicker than if you didn't take the time to do and be and just take that self-care because that self-care is so critical. It's your investment in yourself. And when you invest that time in yourself, you reap the reward.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. All right. You want to share. You've got four card decks and they have their own personalities, each deck. You want to
Mhm.
share what's been created?
Well, the first deck came about, as you know, I said this before about my mom getting COVID and pneumonia at the same time, and she was already 95 years old and on oxygen 24/7, and my daughter telling me of her cancer diagnosis. So Jenny wanted me to be her mom, not her therapist. And I thought about, well, what can I do? And I decided I would do my heart art. I would meditate with the intention of them both getting well, do the painting, and send the image of both out to both Jenny and Mom. And that's what I did. And they both got well. But then during that time, I got the inspiration to put a frequency number on the image. And then I got the inspiration to create a card deck, which I did. And I called it Wisdom, Insight, and Foresight. So that was my basic, what I call my healing card deck. They're all healing card decks, but that wisdom, insight, and foresight just says it all, really. So that's my number one. Then, when my mom passed just before her 97th birthday, she came to me in a dream and she gave me this massive hug. And I'm on my bike, and I can actually feel the hug when I thought about the dream that she came to me with. And I came home and I did my painting based on the feeling I had about that hug and the fact that she came to me in this dream. And I looked at the painting, and instantly the name of the painting came, and I called it I Dreamed a Dream, which I called my second card deck because it was like somebody whispered in my ear, that's the name of your second card deck. And I went, oh my gosh, the amount of work that goes into creating a card deck is massive, you know, like all the paintings, the messages, the frequency numbers. So in my second deck, I use some of my traditional paintings just to use the painting for a message, and I created the frequency number. And then Mom came in another dream, and the painting I did at that time for her coming to see me in this dream as well. I saw her in this dream and I saw her in the distance, and I walked up to her. She was sitting in an armchair, and I knelt down on the floor. And as soon as I put my hands into her lap, I woke up from my dream. And I was saying, oh goodness, I felt deprived, you know. So I did a painting on it, and the painting I called Whispers from Beyond. So that's why I called my deck, the third one, Beyond Transformation. And then the inspiration came to do the fourth deck. And I'm saying, oh, goodness me. But anyway, fourth deck is created because I'm still painting. I still paint. And some of the paintings that we've done together in the workshops we've done together, because they were about intuition and inspiration, they're in that fourth deck. And I called the fourth deck the fifth dimension. That was before I knew anything about the fifth dimension. I knew nothing about the fifth dimension when, one of the paintings was excelling in the fifth dimension. And I said, that's interesting. But, and look what's happened since, the
Yeah.
confirmation that the whole thing coming together and how it's helping people. And I just feel so blessed and so honored that I'm the creator of it and I've brought it to the fore and it's there for anyone who wants to use it.
hmm hmm I'm thinking about when you were talking, because you and I were going back and forth, and the fifth dimension kept coming up, and then we were doing our online painting event, and
Yeah.
we decided what would it look like to look at the world from the fifth dimension and see, rather than thinking about, oh, there's that fifth dimension, and it's like, well, I don't know if I'll ever get there. But no, let's stand inside of it and see what messaging it's going to bring back to us.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that because they're always thinking about, I've got to get to, I need more information. I need to study more. And it's like, no, just stand there. Stand there. What has it got for you? Yeah.
Yeah. And just to be, what I would say to people listening is, and this is one thing, it took me many, many years before I could do this, Michelle, to stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself and make the statement. And it's not easy to do it the first time. Liking yourself and loving yourself, but looking right into your eyes and say your name and say, I love you. And how many times do you use the bathroom? That you go wash your hands. So you're in front of the mirror, if you have a mirror at your basin. So you could do that so many times a day. And it's so empowering. I remember I was at a meeting one time and this man read out, well, what I realized afterwards, the poem was this length. It was, I don't know, 50, probably, I won't say sentences, but lines long. But he just said, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on your back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheat on the man in the glass. Now, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, Michelle, and it was at a point in my life I was making a major decision. And had I made that decision, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. I would have I would have taken the wrong exit. I would have taken an exit off my life path journey. But because of what he said in those few little lines, and then I often look at, Michael Jackson's song, The Man in the Mirror. Had Michael Jackson lived by his words, look at yourself and make that change. So it's all about the self. It's all about what do you want to do for you? Because in doing something for you, you are helping mankind. And Gandhi said it as well, become the change you want to see in the world. So if we want the world to change, we need to look in the mirror and change ourselves. And we can do that. And as you say, you can do it just by stopping what you're doing, sitting in a chair or just standing with your back against a wall, close your eyes, go inside yourself and say, all is well in my world. And this is me. This is me.
Mm-hmm. And a phrase that I'm doing another event piece with a friend, helping her to bring some daily activities in. And so my goal is, I was reflecting on, what is my soul's journey? And everybody tries to figure out, what is my soul's journey? What is my soul's path? But I just said, I am my soul's journey. And that's
Wonderful.
it. It's done, right? And I was like, wow, that was easy. Instead of thinking, I wonder what it is. Am I following it? Am I on the right path? And it's like, no, I just am it. And then everything that needs to happen is going to fall into place the way it's supposed to fall into place. Yeah.
And that is the fifth dimension. It'll fall into place when we allow it to happen and we allow the natural
Mhm.
to come forward.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
amazing. But this is the wonderful thing. That's how easy it is, you know?
Hmm.
When I think of all the years I've struggled to find the answers, they weren't out there, they were in here. I,
Looking.
yeah, if your body's not healthy, where are you going to live? Because this is my house, this is where I live, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And do I want to live with that pain? Or do I want to take the messaging of it, understand it, say it, I've received your message, I'm
Thank you very
listening,
much. Yeah.
you can go. And I don't need pain messages to know
Mm,
how to go forward because I'm already listening. And
yes.
I'm listening in other ways rather than relying on my body to be the vessel that gives me the signal. And then I
Yes.
pay attention. Yeah.
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 Isn't it wonderful when you come to that realization that it can be easy
Hmm.
and we allow it?
Hmm. Hmm.
We
Wow.
need to allow it.
Before we finish off our conversation, do you want to hold up one of your cards so that people can see? We've talked about them, but I know, picture's worth 1,000 words. So they're just so powerful. And when holding them, just so people know, they're nice, thick. They feel good in your hands when you're holding them. And that also is an important piece.
Yeah, this is so this one here I called it's interesting. I am powerful. And it says, no, I didn't plan this, Michelle. I just took it from the top, okay? And there is
Yep.
nothing, there is nothing missing in me. I am powerful. I possess so much positive power, which I use wisely every day. Whatever had upset the balance within me, I now command my subconscious to vanish and banish it forever and ever. I allow the all-encompassing power within to restore and become so much more powerful than before. And so be it. And then this is the message. And the frequency is 994344444.
Wow. That is a great way to finish today. Marian, how can they find you?
My website is marianegan.ie, MARIANEGAN. That's that simple, marianegan.ie. And if somebody wants to book a discovery call there, they can do that. If they want to have a chat. Yeah.
Perfect. And we've got workshops coming up. So for people to stay tuned for what's happening this fall, we have some more painting events.
The workshop is going to be more magical than the last one, Michelle. I'm so looking forward to it.
Me too. And my artwork, although it's not great, it sits right beside me. And great as in, if somebody else wants to evaluate it. But for me, the messaging just continues to feed me. And it's on the floor right next to my desk, but it's actually emanating towards my ankles, my knees, my hips. And
Wow.
uh, and I'm influenced all the time by those paintings. Just amazing.
Yeah. And remember what I said before, like when your body's in tension, it'll tighten, and T is for tension. So what do you get when you put T at the end of pain?
I don't know.
Paint,
Paint,
paint.
paint.
So why the painting works so well. It releases the tension, it releases the anxiety, the stress. It's a wonderful way of letting go.
As you said, what do you when you put the T at the end of pain? My head went into tea, and I was
Ah,
like, what do you get? That's why I had the delayed response because I do know your answer of paint. But it was like, oh, what do you get with the tea? That's really interesting. Anyway, sorry, that was my delayed reaction. And
no.
so finishing
Remember,
off our conversation.
you're powerful. Everybody is powerful. Yeah. Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
I love it.
And my tea is now, it's a very light purple gray.
Wow.
So it's transformed with the conversation. So yeah, Marian, thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that people will check out the decks, find the one that fits for kind of where they're at. Because everybody always says, I don't know which deck should I be looking at. You'll be drawn to the correct deck, but also it'll depend where you want to play for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the fifth dimension one is getting ready to go to print, so it'll be out soon, so people can keep an eye out for that.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been lovely chatting with you as always. There's such a wonderful synergy there. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and just keep in mind that when you sit in that right place, things can be easy. Things can transform, and it can be instantly. Have a great day.